time to take a deep breath, a little deeper, and settle in with your host, Spa and Wellness Director Jenessee, starting right now on the Wellness Hour on KRMA Radio.
Welcome to your Wellness Hour, brought to you by Inn and Spa Walden. Here's your 30-second rundown on how the Wellness Hour works. Like any good story, we have a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning of the show will review what has been, meaning we will take an exciting, deeper look at some of our lecture topics that ran the previous week at Walden. The middle will include what is happening now. Here we will tap into the energy of the present moment and see collectively what is surrounding all of us at this time. The end will give a sneak peek into what's to come, who's up next week, and what wellness activities are available for you to enjoy in the weeks to come. So let's twist time and start this hour in the past. Here we go. Good morning, KRMA Radio. So I'm getting some major feedback. Let's see where this is coming from. Maybe we'll fix it along the way. I know we had a power outage last night, but I want to welcome everybody to today's show, this beautiful Friday here in Northeast Ohio, and welcome somebody new to our program. We have Dr. Tatiana Irvin here with us, and she is one of the most inspirational, amazing people I have met. I'm going to say in my lifetime, but we just met just a few months ago, and I am so excited to have her here with us, sharing her wealth of knowledge, information, and just her brilliant light with everybody. So let me give you a little background. She is a #1 best-selling author, motivational public speaker. She teaches energy leadership and workshops, and we'll talk about some of those because she does have one coming up at the end of August, that you don't want to miss if you're somebody on the seeking path right now and looking to understand more about yourself. Dr. Tatiana Irvin holds a master's degree in metaphysical science, energy leadership certification. She is a medical intuitive certification practitioner, and she also has her PhD in philosophy, specializing in holistic life coaching. So I would like to welcome Dr. Tatiana Irvin to the show. How are you?
Wow, I am so grateful to be here, Jenessee. Thank you for that gorgeous rap sheet that made me feel good about myself. That was fun.
You are amazing, and I am so blessed to have met you, and our path is, I just can't wait. I have goosebumps right now at how exciting our path is. So let's talk about you, because I want everybody to know you as well as I do at this point. So tell us, #1 best-selling author, that is not an easy feat, and we're getting lots of feedback. So let me see. Let me see if I can move some things around so we can get in more clear here. But let's ask everything right now, all this EMF that's around us, to just hold space, quiet. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the book. So #1, you launched these 2 best-selling books back to back. You have Prosperity Through Emotional Intuition, which was launched in January 2016. And then you have The Reluctant Intuitive, which was launched in September 2016. So tell us a little bit about these books.
So just quick correction, it was 2017. I launched one within a year of the other. That is correct. And, here's what it comes down to. Most of us are aware now, because it has gone mainstream, that the law of attraction, how we think and how we feel, create waves of attraction. We call them in metaphysical and quantum science quantum fields or toroidal fields. This has gone mainstream. We hear that from Anthony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and Wayne Dyer, and it's made its way into movies and pop culture and literature. But we haven't really been told how often we're influenced by the world that is around us in many ways that has been rigged to keep us in a state of chaos and out of discernment. And so what I found in my work with my clients and the classes that I teach and the telesummits that I do is we each really need a personal message, a personal invitation to start knowing how to retool how we are managing and habituating our energy. And what I've come to find is the most important thing, number one, is vulnerability as a teacher, to say, hey, guys, I started somewhere too, and here's how the pieces came together in my mosaic, which is in my memoir, The Reluctant Intuitive, A Soulful Confession and Practical Guide. That particular memoir I was blessed to have endorsed by Reverend Michael Beckwith, who is a big name globally and is such a motivational icon for seeing the oneness and the symmetry that exists in every single one of us and the beauty that is in this inherent life. So that was really an honor. But the first book, it was done in an interview style, and basically we're all looking for prosperity. It just doesn't look the same to everyone. We all have a perceptual lens of prosperity. And when we are in a state of harmony, balance, and prosperity, our lives can demonstrate the unique gifts, the skills, the innovation, the visionary aspects, the brilliance, and even the fun. Let's not miss the fun, but we each came here as individuations of the divine to be. So getting that survival into prosperity piece as a foundation was a big motivation for me, because I really want every single one of us to be here and thriving and enjoying this wild ride.
So tell us a little bit about, with the prosperity through emotional intuition, what led you to that book, and what can our listeners expect to get out of reading this book and the deep knowledge that's held within its pages?
Thank you, Jenessee. You know, the truth is I did a keynote when I graduated from the University of Sedona for the doctorate in philosophy. And when I spoke and told my story as one of the other graduating alumni, I was told, you need to tell that story often and with all of the passion and the zeal that it was experienced by those that gave me the feedback in the room. And so the book is an outspringing of that. I know what it's like to be homeless as a 30-something-year-old woman with 4 children and 2 dogs, and at the time a estranged spouse that was not in an emotionally, mentally, or spiritually stable place, and really dwindled down to probably about 20 pounds below my ideal weight, have utilities shut off, and wonder how I'm going to provide for myself. So I know what it's like to start from what feels like less than, ground zero. Mm-hmm. And if I had not been using the practical applications of the metaphysical principles and rehabituating my mindset from victim and fear and betrayal, and instead go into, well, this is a story. This is my story, and soon it will be a story I can tell that has helped shape and form me, but it will not be my identity. And as I shared that story in the keynote in another speaking, I had those say, you really need to put this down on paper and allow this to be literature that's published so that others can actually see you can come from just about as challenging a situation as anyone can imagine. And you really can turn it around. It isn't just the Tony Robbins that can overcome great adversity. It isn't just the Oprah Winfrey's. We really all are experiencing personal challenges that are extreme for us, right? And so that was it. And
so the book was launched in 2017, which feels like lifetimes ago.
It does.
But I find this so resonant for today, and I know you work one-on-one with clients still to this day, even though you're doing so much, which we'll get to later. But you still work hands-on with these clients day in and day out. And this book right now, I hear constantly from friends, from acquaintances, seeing it in social media that everybody is being triggered by this foundational shift. And it sounds like this book is so appropriately timed to those people who are experiencing this shift right now.
Yes. And I think all of us are being challenged because we really have something so massive taking place that I would do all of your listeners a disservice if I didn't, fully acknowledge the magnitude of what's taking place. We are in a major peak event that is a cyclical cosmic event that is triggering and initiating great human evolution. And, you know, we sometimes think, you know, oh, well, this is just, you know, a challenge that I'm having alone, or I'm just particularly tired or fatigued today, or I'm dealing with these chronic health problems, or I'm feeling stuck in my relationships. That is true personally in a microcosm, but in a macrocosm, all of humanity and all of sentient life on the earth is going through a massive shift. And there are really beautiful places, powerful places to get this corroboration at a global scale and appreciate, well, what does this mean for me? How do I want to ride through this cosmic shift, this global shift? The Earth's heartbeat has shifted. Her vibrational frequency is no longer a steady 7.8 hertz. I don't know how many are familiar with shamanic resonance, but we need to appreciate that when she jumps in a given day for over 6 hours to, you know, between 40 and 50 hertz, it is going to affect every single one of us. So, and it has been doing a lot of that lately, Jenessee. So we really want to be not only owning our true selves and doing some deep examination, but we also want to be letting go of the pieces that haven't been serving us for a while, which is discussed in my book and was certainly something that I was forced to reflect on for myself, and then move into a place of strength and integration, integrating all of those parts of us that we may not have loved as deeply as we needed to, integrate our sense of family and home and wellness so that prosperity is something we can experience. And from growing our own microcosm of stability, health, personal integration, evolution, we can affect the macrocosm. It doesn't take the majority of the human population to change the human population. It just takes that 100th monkey effect. It just takes that small percentage.
And so am I correct in saying then that the first book, The Prosperity Through Emotional Intuition, is the validating, it's sharing your story, but also helping the reader to be validated in what they're feeling, what's shifting, how they're transitioning. And then the second book, The Reluctant Intuitive, is really kind of the guide to help them step into that power.
You know, I would say that that's true. And I would also say that prosperity through the development of emotional intuition is really meant to be, let's give you 5 clear steps that you can work with consistently. There are a lot of steps out there. There's a lot of people that have discussed how to go through determining a reset for prosperity, how to really get clear on how you've habituated and how to make those permanent changes. But there's a few things that I often find are missing. And I just want to touch on, you know, the fact that if you're missing one of those steps, you're going to find yourself cycling over and over again going, this doesn't work for me. And the last thing that we need is the sense of I am somehow separate from other, or what works for the vast majority of the population doesn't work for me. We are macrocosmic. So yes, the books kind of spell from here are steps to here is also how I did it and what my journey looked like and the vulnerability inherent in it. And maybe through my sharing, you can also feel some camaraderie or symbiosis with my story and realize that your life is not so extraordinarily disadvantaged that you can't step into this brilliant discernment and intuitive prowess that I am suggesting you have as well. And I'm calling you to claim. It's very important.
And so it's really, again, and why do we keep saying this? It's so interesting, right? It's so synchronistic that I have, just this morning, I was talking to a really close friend who is one of the most amazing healers I know. And we're talking about this time, this space, how people are able to just shift patterns, shift these things instantly. And we're seeing it. We're seeing people shift into this consciousness. But the one thing that then we see as the repercussion to that is that when they shift into that or have these, what we call downloads, or these feelings of something greater than what they had been experiencing, when they have these triggers happen in their life, what we're seeing happen right now is people distrusting this divine guidance or this new energy, this new perspective over what has been. And so because of their environment maybe not supporting, it's almost as if they're hearing, feeling, getting that download, that trigger, that shift, and then they distrust it. So they step back. And we were just talking about how what's really needed in this moment, in this time, is that validation. It's that network. It's that community that people, as they're shifting into this, can look and grab onto those people who are seeing it or who maybe went through it, you know, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that have the voice of validation for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, to me, this is you as a human, we'll say as the connected human, as well as all the work that you've already created and produced for people to really help them have that validation within their environment as these triggers, these shifts, this conscious expansion happens to them.
Thank you. Gosh, Jenessee, I could not have said that more harmoniously. You just wove that together. That's really what it's about. Anyone that has worked as a healing practitioner or facilitator, regardless of the modality, you know, I am an energetic and medical intuitive. I teach that. I work with Reiki tools. I work with clinical aromatherapy. I work with many different energy modalities. Anyone that's done this type of work knows that very often clientele will seek you out, and there will be a conscious or unconscious expression from the clients very often that they're coming to see you because you have something they don't have. Mm-hmm. And what I want to be really clear with, and why I continue the education to the point of getting the doctorate with, you know, in philosophy, which is my love and my passion, but with the emphasis in holistic life coaching, is as the energy facilitator and worker, I wanted to coach in such a way that empowered my clientele, everyone that I worked with, all the students that I work with, to recognize you have the answers. Mm-hmm. You are your own direct dial to divinity.
Yes.
And if I'm really going to serve you, I'm going to wake up your intuition and empower you, because the world needs more awake people and more that are discerning, mm-hmm. using those tools, not a lot of avatars and prophets and sages that have the masses following behind them. We have evolved past that time, haven't we, Jenessee?
Oh, I love that. And I think that's why we were brought together, zipped together so clearly, so quickly, because that is my number one guiding light. I'm not here to do this for you. You are here because you are authentic and you have a gift. And so let's empower you and empower your gift and step fully into that so that we can all blossom and all shine with our uniqueness, right? Because that's what it's about. Yeah. Oh, wow. You're just so amazing. I can't wait for people to get your work. So where can we find this? I know your website has the books on it. I'm sure probably does Amazon have these titles as well?
Absolutely. Of course, you know, the big online booksellers from Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and, you know, the easiest thing to do for the books, Prosperity Through the Development of Emotional Intuition and The Reluctant Intuitive, A Soulful Confession and Practical Guide, you can go to my website, drtatianairvin.com. So drtatianairvin.com. I have another website, nurturing-hands.com, for those that are looking to do a lot of working with me directly in waking up their latent intuition, and they actually want to Skype in or, you know, come and see me at my local place of professional work, my brick and mortar office here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then there's also Solutionary TV, which was born out of the Reluctant Intuitive and the marketing and media that went out during that launch, that resulted in a lot of television stations and radio stations saying, you know, just create your own show. We can have you on as often as is necessary, but you've got a lot to share and amazing content that needs to be conveyed to the masses. Just create your own. So Solutionary TV just experienced its 1-year anniversary, and that's solutionarytv.com, where we talk about the solutions that exist for every single global crisis challenge that humanity is met with right now that the mainstream media is not telling us. And it's so exciting to find these experts and to be able to bring this content out. It's really been a transformative experience, Jenessee.
And so Solutionary TV, I have turned a lot of people who who are already seeking, but also a lot of people who we would consider kind of this just started questioning what their purpose is, what their path is. And so I've turned quite a few people from what you can consider, speaking the language and really steeped in metaphysical concepts, but also people who are just awakening into this and feeling this divine push to move further and seek further and to know more. And people love this Solutionary TV. I mean, you talk, number one, you are probably the best interviewer I have ever encountered.
Thank you.
You get to the heart of everybody, which is so quickly too. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, you're already tapped into this heart space of people, which I think is the most profound shifting space that we can get into. And so it's just this beautiful platform, and you speak so eloquently and help really break down these concepts. So again, I think like we were talking about, there's so many different gifts and talents that unique personalities are bringing into the collective of all of humanity. And so I think in the Solutionary TV, you really get people from every walk of life and then tap right into that heart space, which aligns, I think, the watchers into that frequency and just up levels everybody instantly. So thank you. And if you have anything more to say about it, because I really want people, so you can subscribe to this on YouTube, again, Solutionary TV, please subscribe. You can go right on the website and get notifications. But tell us a little bit more about some of the different topics, maybe even just some of the recent ones, or maybe some of the mind-blowing ones that you've experienced, just so people can get a taste for some of the content that they can get on this.
Well, yes, absolutely, Jenessee, and thank you for the warm and such genuine compliments. The goal, we could all be running our own platform of self-promotion and self-aggrandizement, and I've got to be really honest. While I'm very excited to see faces brighten up and the lights turn on in the reflective gaze coming back from others' eyes when they are given the tools and better understand the truths with the capital T that are coming through to the masses. Self-promotion, marketing, media, I just need the universe to take care of it. So you are part of that gift, and I'm graciously receiving, because that is not my typical MO. It is, those with ears to hear will hear, those who have eyes to see, those that are seekers will find. Solutionary TV really started with the idea of, we've got issues in corporate downsizing and unemployment. We have issues with AI in its uprising that are going to be taking over. We are told, depending on who you're listening to, Mr. Weil, Mr. Elon Musk, Stephen Hawking, they're going to take over up to 95% of the global jobs. What will that mean for humanity? What will take place in terms of universal basic income? We discuss those things. We discuss the fact that we're not living sustainably on this planet in terms of agriculture and commodification of the earth and the water and the seeds and the resources. And we get experts on that talk about what it is to go back to having a biodynamic and sentient, healed human earth relationship. Exciting stuff. We've had those that work with indigenous people in plant medicine that have never lost their spiritual connection with all sentient life around them, and why so many in the Western world right now are seeking a shamanic experience. And I've certainly indulged in those, and I have also held the space of being the facilitating shaman for those that I've come to serve, because getting out of a brain space that is codependent only on 3 neurochemicals, and not understanding that we have an endocannabinoid system, that we have, dimethyltryptamine. So we're just a complex, beautiful, and intricate beings that have so much more potential than what we've been told. We get into current science and consciousness with those that have crossed behind the veil and come back again and are sharing, hey guys, guess what? This big life that you're living is so much bigger than you knew. You are being influenced by 95% dark matter, dark space that materialistic science hasn't even really begun to touch. And on top of that, you've got access to your brain, over 90% of your brain you didn't even know. Let's talk neuroplasticity and epigenetics. And we get these experts on, and we really empower our our viewers to recognize that they are limitless beings, and not only that, we are co-creative, macrocosmic on a human scale, able to co-create together. So there's nothing that we consider to be so formidable in our society systems, institutions, food supply, education, our own physical health that we're limited on. And the more of us that share and know it, the more that we actually create a momentum for really substantial change across our global systems.
And so how do you get introduced to or reach out to the speakers, the people that you're interviewing on this show? What's your process?
Forgive my humor. It's so simple, and I want your listeners to hear this. It's so simple. When guidance moves, it creates the way. We've all been told that you need to know the what. What is your what matters to you, and your why. What drives you, but the how is always the universe's job. I don't have to find anyone. The universe just hands them over to me in the robes, and when it's meant to be by divine timing, I connect with them. I have my staff help me connect with them, and all the shows come together just as harmoniously as they need to. It was even how you and I were introduced, Jenessee. It was just, we call it serendipity or the magic of the universe, but it's not anything I have to try hard to do.
I love that. And that shows the heart-centered awareness that you have. You know, they say when you are in your heart space that basically everything is magnetized to you, through you, with you, by you, and you don't have to work anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just been a blessing, and that's where I really think the principles are proven. When you are doing the work that inspires you and drives you, and is part of that unique calling you individuated into this life, into this body to do, things should flow in a way that are very deeply validating. And that's a big part of my teaching, working with my students.
And so and I'm just going to rope it right back to the books and your courses, because this is, again, where I feel like the fear comes up for a lot of people, because when we move into heart-centered awareness, we call this 4D, right? Fourth dimension, where it's no time, no space. You've basically tapped into the totality of everything, the totality of who you are on all multidimensional levels. And so when we do this, and this is what is holding back so much of humanity right now, is there's such fear. My favorite quote is, the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't, right? People choose to stick in the patterns, the cycles, the repetition of what they know because they know it, and they feel like they can control it. And so when you move into that heart space, you really have to open up into this trusting energy that, as humans, moving through the ego realm, we feel like we have to control or be able to see clearly what's being created through us. And so back to all of your work, I feel like you have attained this level of consciousness, not only for yourself as you give validating experiences through the first book, Prosperity Through Emotional Intuition, but then how you help to work with people and validate people. So I just want you to talk about, if you can, because I really want those who are seeking and need this heart-centered alignment, or just the encouragement to step into this space and do it for themselves, like we were talking about the empowerment component here. You have a really phenomenal course that's coming up August 31st to September 2nd, and it's called Energy and Medical Intuitive Certification. So can you tell those people who might be seeking some more of this, what this is about and how they get to work with you through this course?
Absolutely. When I mentioned that it is my goal to empower more to awaken their latent intuition, to really engender that intuitive empathic prowess, I know that it is more than just reading a book. I know that it is a hands-on, applicable experience in a safe environment around a microcosm of like minds and seeking souls that feel like safe space and create kind of a micro-family unit, which is why I offer these courses. We really need to be in immersion when we go through certain rites of passage. You know, the great mystery schools would create initiations and they would create retreats. It's important for us to take time away. Yes, be in daily application where you are, but our lives are not always 100% supportive of the path that we're seeking on. So we do need to create sequestered space to be able to grow with like minds. And I always trust that, you know, if one course is not resonating with you, another one will. You will be in the right course at the right time with the right group of people. So I did have a request to choose this weekend based on a handful of students that couldn't make it for my most recently offered course, which was back in mid-April. And so we did choose that weekend of, you know, the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd, and it's here in Raleigh. And then we continue to do some of the coursework over the period of time. Most of your listeners may be familiar with the idea of a medical intuitive through a lot of the work that has been popularized through Carolyn Mace and Dr. Norm Shealy. She's kind of like the matriarch, if you will, of coining the term medical intuitive. And she's brilliant and she's strong and she has a very exact science to it. And I've studied under Carolyn Mace and Norm Shealy, and I've studied through a few other medical intuitive schools. And in my work of integrating all that has been put out there by the divine through individuals that sought to serve the divine and do the best that they could to filter that brilliance, I recognized that I was going to continue to get my own divine data download. And I love to refer to that as like, you know, D cubed, and that we all have access to, right? We all have access to, so that we can develop it to the next place that guidance wants to filter through us. So I started getting years ago various movements or symbols or modality motions that were seeking to be implemented while literally being in session, working with clients that I remember questioning, because you go inside, you know, as a practitioner and you're talking to guidance the whole time. It's like, wait a minute. No one's taught me this before. I don't remember this being part of any of my practicums. And guidance says, right, I'm giving it to you.
Right.
That's how those that taught you received it. Before anything is made academic, there is intuition, inspiration, innovation, and a visionary, receptive mind. Whether you are Nikola Tesla or you're Albert Einstein, any of those that have brought us online with bigger visions. You know, Steve Jobs was a big one talking about intuition and inspiration. So when we are also practitioners, we need to recognize that divinity is going to run more opportunity through us. And so what I heard in choosing to modify this course was, it's time to wake up the population, all of humanity, to the full abilities that they have, which is a restoration of the connection of our DNA strands. So we're looking at 12-strand DNA. We all know that, you know, we have only, you know, this double helix, and that a lot of geneticists would say that we had junk DNA. Higher minds would say not junk, just not properly functioning, hooked up and serving us. So we've got that going for us, and we have greater access to rewiring synaptic nerves and using higher brain faculties, particularly getting out of fight and flight in reptilian brain, moving through hippocampus and mammalian brain, and going into prefrontal cortex, where we know we have that intuitive firing pineal gland, which many of us have been working healthfully to decalcify and wake up. And so I was given an inspiration of, let's create a course that is a medical intuitive / energy intuitive, and get everybody flying through running the grid. We can all run the grid. We are all part of this extended field of co-creative energy. So the goal is get everyone into the higher faculties of receptivity through intuition by activating pineal gland, third eye, which is 6th chakra, and also crown, which is 7th chakra. There's a method that I teach that gets us then into heart chakra and then starts setting fields around us. And with that, we've got students that are learning how to project their energy into a family member across the planet and being able to, with permission and also with full respect and reciprocity, be able to deliver immediate divine blueprint energy healing. We are able to project to key places around the globe where there is turmoil, and as a class and as individuals to be able, just with coordinates, to project in and create a peaceable environment and a toroidal field that immediately embellishes those that are suffering, wherever that happens to be on the globe. And all the while we're working together, we are creating an expansive and healing heart chakra and heart torus field that's also healing and recalibrating and fine-tuning our bodies. And so as I received this clarity that I was meant to do this course and everything that's entailed in it, it became obvious this is the gift that keeps on giving. It brings us into that alignment of greater neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and getting our DNA back into harmonious reclamation while we are serving the masses and being able to connect at such a powerful heart level.
And so you used terms like running the grid and blueprint. And so for those maybe who are unfamiliar with this, because I know this is a big component of how you not only connect to one person, but then connect to the totality of human consciousness. So can you just explain a little bit more about those concepts?
Yes. Well, let's start with running the grid. Many are familiar with artwork that has been, Alex Gray is a great example of one that does a lot of visionary interpreted artwork of what energy fields look like, both outside of the body and within the earth and all of sentient life. He's done a lot of deep, powerful renditions of human connectivity and sentient life connectivity. And so when we look at it from a shamanic or an intuitive meditative, as well as a healing component perspective, we recognize that we are in one co-creative field. And now quantum physics is finally agreeing and languaging it the same way that all of these esoteric philosophical truths throughout all major religions and belief systems have been saying. Everything is one creative field, one divine intelligence. Well, so if that's true, then we're not really relegated to our bodies. We know consciousness isn't limited to our bodies. That means that we have the ability to be tapped into and be receiving from and be able to have an effect on the grid for which we are all connected and all a part at any given time. Most of us are doing it unconsciously, and most of us are experiencing 4D a lot when we're sleeping, when we're daydreaming. And
driving in the car.
You got it. Numbed out and still of mind, and brainwave states are a big part of it. And we teach a lot about entrained and determined brainwave states in the class as well, to help everyone understand why is it that I feel better, between maybe 2 and 5 hertz, or why is it that, when I'm meditating and I come out of it, that I'm in this space of stillness where I feel like I can sense everyone in the house. We explain these things. These are big questions, but they ultimately come back to one single concept. Since the beginning of time, mankind knew we were connected, and we knew that we were in a field that is very tangible and very web-like connected, and it has many names, and they all weave into one vernacular, which we'll just call the grid. And we can run the grid to reach each other. We can run the grid, as our governments have done in the past, for spy programs and espionage in the form of remote viewing and astral projection. But we're so past that now. I think that there are so many of us that are waking up to that intuitive prowess, and we realize this is not something that is meant to be used to harm. This is something that is meant to be used to unify. And the more of us that are using it to unify, the more, again, we change the way that this beautiful sphere that we live on and was meant to be owned and stewarded with love and with kindness, and held as that responsibility to always be in respect, that everything I do affects another, and everything that another does affects me. And with that renewed respect, we start to unify. So running the grid is a big aspect of it, for sure, Jenessee.
And so would you say that that one of maybe and I don't want to use the word problems, but let's just say problems, because I don't know if there's a better word, is that we are all connected to this grid, whether we like it or not. And so that's why it's so powerful to know exactly how you're running your energy through it and how you're accepting energy through it. And so would you agree that that's one of the components of this in the waking up and teaching this concept?
It is. And I think that when we teach it from this level, Jenessee, we let go of the fear and some of the myths of separateness that really make all the difference in the world. I think the greatest impetus for pain and suffering, whether it's drug addiction or it's suicide, if it's gambling, any of the vices that we experience today and the senses of loss come from a false belief. And I mean completely false. Philosophy and science agree that we are isolated from one another, that we are separate. We are not separate. And it is through our concept of separateness that the way that we affect the grid and the way that we're affected by others very often ends up becoming a catabolic experience, meaning wearing us down, beating us down, leading to disillusionment and sickness and depression. The number one prescribed medicine in the world right now, and particularly in the Western world, is an antidepressant. The second is a real close second, but it falls into the pain-killing opiate category. And we know that we have an opiate crisis. If we knew that we were not separate and we knew actually how to work harmoniously in this grid and feel connected to one another, the compassion, the clarity and compassion would be overwhelming. And that is our work. Isn't it, Jenessee? That is our work.
Yes, that's why we're here. That's, oh my goodness, just pour out the heart-centered love. Antidepressants, right? Suppressing the heart. So sad. So now tell me about blueprint. So because this is a word that is getting more and more recognition and being used so much. So tell us, explain to us what the blueprint is.
You bet. We work in class, for those that come to my Energy Medical Intuitive certification course, we work with the concept of divine blueprint. There is a divine blueprint for this planet, and we know when we look around at her now with the over half our animal species die off and the contaminants that have gone into her air and her soil and her water and into sentient life on her, we're not experiencing divine blueprint, but there is a perfected and luminous divine blueprint. The same is true for each of us. We take it for granted. It's kind of humorous when you think about it. If we cut ourselves, we are pretty confident we're going to scab, we're going to scar, we're going to heal. We know that our bodies know how to heal themselves. But what happens as we live in this illusory world of separateness and in this illusory world of being only a meat suit, in a materialistic science concept, if less than 5% of me and the world is the materialistic universe, we have 95% that is affecting on us. And our unconsciousness towards that is not necessarily serving us. So when we think about the terms of what does divine blueprint look like? What does a perfectly flawlessly healing, self-replicating body look like? Is it youthing or is it aging? Are my telomeres on my chromosomes lengthening and rejuvenating with every bit of cellular division? Or am I aging and free radicals taking over my body? When you know that divine blueprint is a correct principle and that it is a universal concept, and we talk about this a lot in the coursework, instead of going into the grid to heal others or to affect upon an environment, we instead hold as witness divine blueprint. We envision and emulate nothing other than the perfection of a situation, a place on the globe, a group of individuals, the individual that we are all in service to. And because we hold divine blueprint, it's kind of a beautiful mix between a complete conviction of a higher will be done, a divinity, and a correct principle being made manifest, and also recognizing we're facilitators of flowing this energy. It isn't for me to go in and assume in my ego that I need to correct or fix something in you. I simply need to bear witness that the divine blueprint is already there. And it's such a clean way to hold space as a facilitator.
No expectation. Detached acceptance of what is. And through that, we can find the beauty of each other and connect so much more fully. So tell me again, is the August 31st to September 2nd, is this a course that is just in person? Is it a retreat type course where they come and do the work through those days with you?
So it is an on-location, on-site. I have a wonderful environment that I've been able to consistently provide for my students that are interested in this coursework, which I want to be real clear. This is really about waking you up to your intuitive prowess and giving you a consistent skill set that allows it to be a day-to-day implementable practice, even for those that aren't interested in using it as practitioners or facilitators or implementing it into their existing practice. I have individuals that just want to learn it and they come to learn it to work on themselves. That is a fine and substantial reason.
It's a
or
life
work on
course.
Their family members.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, they would fly in if they're not already local or drive in. Any of those that contact me that want to hear more about the course, I'm happy to get on the phone for 30 minutes and explain it at length and make suggestions about accommodations. But we are in course for about 3 intensive days. And then we have about 30 to 60 days in follow-up where we are doing case studies with locations and individuals and following up with getting a certificate or diploma. So this is something that can be used in a professional capacity. But again, the goal is always let's reintroduce you to yourself. Your intuition is here. You just didn't necessarily know how to go about that application. And that's the larger goal.
And so to find this easily, go to Dr. Tatiana Irvin, website, and you go under the training portion, and she has her phone number there, her email there, so you can read about it and then contact her directly. And so that's drtatianairvin.com. So much power behind this course, and she is one of the most transformative coaches and teachers. So please, 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 the more heart-centered people we have out there that know their authenticity, the quicker we all start reflecting that. So please go there and look at that and ask her any questions you might have. She's just such a wealth of information. And then I think for those maybe who are questioning more of this, we are actually going to be doing a series together called the Ascension series, and this is back to Solutionary TV. So let's talk a little bit about this.
I'm so excited, Jenessee. Yeah, giddy about this. So Solutionary TV, as I've already stated, was and is engendered to direct the public, direct our society to the understanding and to the ability to synthesize. We already have the answers to all of these global problems. We've seen so much going on with social media and the arguing of sides and, unfortunately, the unnecessary divisiveness that's been created with it. So let's stop talking about the problems and let's get to the solutions. But just as I said with the coursework, it is more than anything else the illusion that we're isolated and separate and that we are experiencing something in our own personal microcosm that is to the exclusivity of everyone around us. That is the big illusion that we need to bust through, that we really need to have the veil peeled back and the kindness rendered to us that has never been true. And what you and I are going to do, Jenessee, is we're going to talk about, and I'm really thrilled to be doing this, getting down to the heart and soul of what is this human evolution that we keep hearing about. We're hearing about it in the mass media about quantum computers and transhumanism and neural lace, and we're going to go to Mars, and we're not even going to age past 2045 because we're going to be able to have hacked our genetic code. For anyone that's paying attention, all of this is in mainstream media being bled out little bits at a time. But we're really at an age that is looking to ask us, what is it that you want? What is human evolution really about? We are meant to evolve. All sentient life is meant to evolve. And it is a spiritual journey as well as a mental, emotional, and physiological journey. And so we're really going to touch on the opportunity for a higher principle that you and I are referring to as an ascension opportunity or an ascension invitation. So, Jenessee, I'm so thrilled to be doing this with you. Why don't you share more from your vast wisdom, how you see us coming together and making this offering so succinct for everyone listening right now?
Yes, so I don't want to give too much away because I have a feeling our first session is going to be just so much playful energy describing how we came together on this. But you and I were both triggered at I would have to say, if not the same hour, the same day as one another. And you were channeling me and I was channeling you from our different states. And we were both triggered at the exact same time that it was almost as if we were being told that what you have created up into this point is completely validated. The personality you've created here on Earth, the human that you have created on Earth is taken care of, but it has run its course. And we were both, what was it, June 6th or something right around there. And, and you were divinely guided to have to let go of what we call third dimensional component, the personality, this very human-esque aspiration of survival. You were triggered to let go a last component of yourself, and I was triggered in the exact same way. And then our divine team said, girls, get together.
Yes. And so kind of ordered us, didn't they?
Ordered. And I love that you had the wits about you to give me a text or a call or however that went down. And we both were just so giddy on the phone call, sharing the experience, but in this very, again, heart-centered, vulnerable way where we had really we could feel into what was happening. But I think a lot of this Ascension series is about this trust in what's unfolding, because as you and I both know, as we keep reaching the higher and higher plateaus on the mountaintop, everything becomes so much more clear, but you have to have so much more trust that top is there, right?
Yes.
And
unquestionably.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I'm going to bounce it back to you. So tell us in your words, because we both have been, Ascension series. It's just this title, this phrase has come to both of us. So in your feeling state, in your awareness, what can people expect from tuning into Solutionary TV to watch what unfolds for the Ascension series?
Well, I think that the way that we both were drawn to have this conversation that initiated this Ascension series, when you're really tapped in, when you're running the grid as a daily active practice with full lucidity, you recognize that there is no answer that is not available to you, and it's available to you immediately and in real time. What is it that keeps answers from coming through? It's very often our denial and our inability to see that it's transparent, that it's there, and that it can show up right away. I was ready to have that conversation on Monday, but found enough things distractible in my current duty list that I didn't get a hold of you till Thursday. And I remember you, Jenessee, saying, I was ready for your call on Monday. I want our viewers, our listeners to know every answer you seek is available to you as you're prepared to receive it. That is part of where we are going right now as a humanity in our receptivity. That is what is available to every single one of us. And yes, there can be maddening moments. Yes, there can be confusing times as we provide the Ascension series as two individuals that were, for all sakes and purposes, ordained and very much initiated to bring this forward to the populace that is drawn to our particular unique voice as we, speak and echo one another's sentiments. There will be revelation that will corroborate where you are, that will help guide and navigate you through some of the aspects of your own integration, your own awakening to your abilities, your coming into full ownership of intuitive hits that you just absolutely did not realize that were this accessible to you, being able to put some language around it and feeling that you're part of a beautiful community that's serving you to have this be navigated with grace and with joy and with a lot of celebration rather than fear, apprehension, and denial. We're really here for you to be able to language it and to be able to bring it home.
And so to go full circle, I think part of this, right? So we're living this internal subjective reality and we're living this external objective reality. And the goal of being human is to find that 0 point, find that stillness between objective and subjective reality. And what we were talking about in the beginning about people almost having this fear or trepidation about moving into this trust space that everything is connecting in perfect harmony and balance and complete perspective to what their unique individual soul frequency is wanting to do in this reality. I think so much of this, and we talk about the grid. We have these grids that, even if you can't see it, it's running in us, through us, and extending out and connecting to every other individual human that's out there. This is the beauty of divinity connecting this internal world that maybe we can't see but we can feel, connecting to this external world, and the external grid are the humans. It's beating heart to beating heart. And as we just said, we both connected to each other in the grid, and then as the human, we said, kind of, you run through that list of chores, or, oh, is it really appropriate to call her? Or, oh, we've only talked once in our life. What's she going to think if I call her, if I express myself completely, if I don't really know what to say? But that's where all of this is happening. It's this internal world that is instantaneously manifesting through our connections. And that's, I think, at least I feel a big component of what we're creating here in this Ascension series is we are your heartbeat. We are your connection. We're creating this visible grid of humans that are here to hear you, to support you, to validate you, to tell you our experiences, to hear your experiences, because this is where everything is happening. And you and I both laugh. Our motto, I am happy to be human. I am so excited to be human right now. I am loving my body. I am loving this timeline. And that's because I found the balance between that subjective and objective world, and I'm allowing these human connections to come in and mirror the joy and complete authenticity that I feel within myself. I'm allowing these people to show up, and I think that's what we're trying to create, is this place where these heart connections can show up, and we can all just mirror the beauty, the joy, the fun of being human to one another. And then as we do this, we then hold that space, like you were talking about earlier, for other people to step into their blueprint and to fill that divine potential of who they are authentically. And so I am so excited to create this coffee house Ascension series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's just so much.
It's a salon of high minds and big hearts, because the truth of the matter is there is a very vast intellectual component to it. There's a lot of science and a lot of philosophy, but the truth is, for each of us to create the momentum to come together and be part of active evolution is to move into the heart. The heart, as HeartMath is determined, the HeartMath Institute that measures through instrumentation the various fields that we have, both within and that extend out of us. The heart torus and the heart field is the largest field, larger than any part of our auric energy. So that's what we're about, isn't it, Jenessee?
That's what we're
going
about.
To bring it in.
The wellspring of the heart. So just again, for anybody who may be tuned in late, we're talking with Dr. Tatiana Irvin, and please go to her website, Dr. Tatiana Irvin. You can find Solutionary TV online, again, its own website. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe so you don't miss any of the one-on-one interviews or the Ascension series that's kicking off. When can they find the first Ascension series episode?
We are going to be launching Ascension series in midweek at this point. Through the month of July. We're going to be starting real soon. I think that we're going to be able to get that Facebook Live or Google Hangouts, and there will be notifications for your listeners and for my viewers on the 9th of this month is we're going to have our first Ascension series. And Solutionary TV is going to continue to be running on Monday evenings, 7 to 8 p.m. with guests that are weaving into it. But our unique offering is going to continue to be available midweek, Jenessee, and they really need to keep their eye out for the Ascension series, because that is going to be where we're going to get down to the heart and the evolution in the most cutting edge way and really bring it all together. And so let them know. Come to the website, look at the Facebook page. They will see exactly when we're going to be airing, and also how often that they can look for those uploads in YouTube, BitChute, and on both of our websites. They'll be available. And
then Facebook, this will be a place too. So how do they find you on Facebook?
Dr. Tatiana Irvin and Solutionary TV. If they put it in